So I've been talking a little bit about dying and being reborn again. I've talked about what we die to, which is this personality that we think is who we are. Personality, the ego, is flesh, and we're spirit. So, who are we? And if we were to die to this personality which we identify ourselves with, have always identified ourselves with, where would we find ourselves then? I remember when I first asked that question, I thought that it was death. I said, well, if I were to stop being who I am and I would cease to exist, that's a death, and that's scary. And I'm sure a lot of people find themselves faced with that situation, that same situation of thinking that if they're who they think they are, they identify themselves as, if that were to stop being, then they would die. And that would be what death is, but it's not. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what are we reborn into? And it's not an easy thing to explain. It's something that needs to be experienced. But it's very beautiful. It's very peaceful. You don't jump up and down ecstatic with joy, and it's not like an eternal orgasm or anything like that. It's not like fireworks going off and that sort of thing, which is how it was painted back in the 70s. It's not like that at all. That is nothing more than a wrong way of looking at it, let's put it like that. But what happens is that when we stop identifying ourselves with the mind, we begin to identify ourselves with the witness of the mind, which happens to also be the creator of the mind. So this witness is silent, and this witness does not interfere. Imagine one consciousness, the consciousness of God. And in this supreme consciousness, there are 7 billion dreams. And each one of those dreams is unique and different. And each one of those dreams are us, the 7 billion people who occupy this planet right now. So here in this great supreme consciousness, from this consciousness is created 7 billion dreams, each one unique and different. And at some point along the way, we'll wake up back into that consciousness of God, if you will, or energy, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter, because you can't call whatever you call it is not going to fit what it is, because it's beyond definition. So that is what we're all looking for when we go after a partner. A man seeks a woman and he says, this woman is going to make me happy, and a woman seeks a man and she says, this man is going to make me happy. Or when a man or a woman says, oh, if I just can buy this car, if they approve my credit for this car, I'll be so happy. Oh, if I get this loan for this house, if I get this job, if I can just score one more bag of heroin, I mean, whatever it is, it's seeking happiness. It's seeking happiness. Every single one of us is seeking happiness in their own and unique way. The problem is that we're seeking it outside of ourselves. And as long as we do that, we're never going to have happiness. We'll have moments that we feel happy, but then after a while they'll dissipate like clouds in the sky. So a lot of people shy away from the spiritual path. That's why we don't have a lot of enlightened people walking around. It's hard to find people who are really truly spiritual. Oh, you'll find religious people, because of course religion offers you an easy way out, which is false. It's not true. It says, don't worry about it. You don't have to do a thing. Just come here, go to church, accept this human sacrifice, and then that's it. You're cleared. It doesn't work that way. If that was the case, then why do we have to die and be reborn again? So, most people today live with two main drives in their life. One is the fear of death, and the other one is the need or the desire to fill the emptiness. Two things: fear of death and incompleteness. So everybody's going around trying to find happiness in objects, situations, circumstances, and they're all doing it within, and they're all trying to do it to make matters worse, actually, with a limited personality, which is nothing more than a program. It's a program. We're programmed as humans, and then some of us will free ourselves from the program, and others may not. But everything is perfect. Even the people who are out there suffering and have no clue about the spiritual path and are causing pain and suffering to other people, because it works that way. People who are suffering usually go out and cause pain and suffering to other people. So we see those people, they come into our lives and they do something to us, and they hurt us, and we feel we suffer as a result of it. Those people are actually our teachers in a way. They're teachers. One guru in India called them egojis. Now, if you notice behind any saint or any guru's name, they say Ji. Ji is a term of honor. So egoji is actually giving honorable tribute to the ego of those people who become our teachers, because as a result of that suffering, we're in some cases, not in all, some cases it just crystallizes and makes us and keeps us deeper. We need to wait for a greater suffering to happen before we actually get it. But that suffering After a while, suffering and suffering, and we go through life and things happen to us, and every time we try to do something correctly, there's more suffering. Comes a point where we say, I've had it with this. This is enough. I don't want to suffer anymore. And then we begin on the spiritual path. And then, as we're in the spiritual path, some of us are able to evolve. And to evolve, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to face your dragons. I mean, your mind, as you're evolving spiritually, your mind begins to purge itself because the ego is no longer in control. Once you realize that you're not the ego and you're not your thinking, you don't allow yourself to be taken by the current of your thoughts into suffering. And so these thoughts that create the suffering lose their purpose. And as a result of losing their purpose, they lose their energy and they begin to dissipate. It's a long process. It's not something that happens spontaneously. Just like the ceiling fan, if I shut the switch off to the ceiling fan and cut the power to the ceiling fan, the momentum keeps it turning for a while. It's the same thing when you are actually able to consciously be the witness of your thinking. At that point that you are witnessing your thoughts, you've actually separated yourself from them and entered into consciousness. But the momentum keeps it going. So the ego will be there maybe for years, maybe for the rest of your life. That's okay. But you're on the path. And the ego will come up and you begin to see things. Sometimes things will come up from the past, and they'll come up to haunt you and, try to influence you in some sort of way. It's a purging, a cleansing. Your consciousness, your true self, which is your spirit, your consciousness, begins to emerge and manifest itself, and your ego personality weakens. And at some point, I would imagine, the mind then becomes what it truly is, a tool of consciousness. That's all it is, a tool of consciousness. We will never, well, I'm not going to say we will never, because then that would be too concrete, and I don't want to say that, but the mind is, and the thinking pattern is a tool. It's not who we are. It's something that we use. But people identify themselves with that. Well, I'm going to keep it short. I hope that this gives you food for thought. Thank you for listening. Peace.